Hello, everyone. So we're gonna work on another problem today. Here is the problem. So as it states, to qualify for an internship, participants need to have a class average of at least 70% and pass at least 2 classes. Write a program that uses main to prompt the user to either his average grade and pass score enter to another function. ckScore, the ck function uses a nested if-else to determine eligibility. Use global constant min-average min-pass to compare minimum average and class passed. See output below. So enter your average score. We need to create. Okay, so how do we do this? Let's move this aside. And we're gonna start with, let's problem number 3, I think. So how do we do this? We ask the user to put an input. As it says, to qualify an internship, participant needs to have at least 70 average of 70 and pass at least 2 classes. How do we know? We'll ask the user to put an input. The first, define main. What am I doing? Okay, and then we go forward with score. It's an integer that we want from the user to place it in, and float if the integer has decimal point, and that will tell us, input will tell us that the user needs to place an input, something. The text will tell the user what kind of information it will put. Okay, now we're gonna go with if statement, and we're doing this if statement attribute. What's it called? Attribute? Argument. Oh no, not attribute, argument. We're making an argument. Once the user inputs the score, then the score, the value score will be equal to user's input. And if the user's input score is less than 70, then the code will print your score is the user's score. It will print out, and it will also print user. Oh, not user. you to score at least 70% average to be considered. Okay, so now we've got that. If that is true, if the score is less than 70, then it will print out everything what's inside of the parentheses. Else, it will print out class else. Oh yes. We will work. We need to ask the user how many. We need to ask the user for at least two classes. And those two classes should average to 70 or above. Two classes. So we could nest an if statement inside the else. Okay, let's go with this. Yeah, this is good enough. Class equals, we ask the user for integer, okay, and then float. We do not need float. We go with input, the string, which states how many classes did you take? I think it would be better. Classes did you pass? Space. Okay, now we could tell the user to print I think we don't need to do this. We need to just write if state argument class is equal to or less than 1, then classes, I made a mistake right there, classes okay. I was like, what's wrong? Figured it out. Now, if it is true, then the code will print classes did you have took this many classes, which will classes and print once again you made at least 2 classes to be considered. Okay. Now, else print how many classes did you pass classes, print again. So the user would understand what's happening. Congratulations, you qualify for an internship. Internship. Now, so let's one more time go through the code. So we're define the main. Within the main, we ask the user to put an input, which will equal to score. Score will represent the user's input. For the grade, enter your average grade, average score or grade. All right, so we create a statement, if and else statement. If the score is less than 70, then it will print out your score is less than 70, which will, let's say, for example, 60. And on the second line, it will say you need to score at least 70 average to be considered. That's what it will say if the statement is true. If the argument is true, then that's what it will print. If it is not, it will go to else. And in else, the user is asked for an input, once again, for the classes. Why are we not putting, why are we not asking the user to put two inputs right at the top? Because if one is false, we want both of them to be true. If one is false, then both of them would not work out. The student, I guess it is a student, will not land an internship. So if one is false, then both of them is false. Both of them need to be true in order for the argument to, in order for the student to land a job. So back to else. Classes equals the amount of classes the student has taken. So let's say the student takes 2 classes, or maybe 4. And if it says if class is less than or equal to 1, then it will print you have took 1 or 0 classes. You need at least 2 classes to be considered, which in our case we have 4, so it's not going to go to if, it will go to else. Else, it will print how many classes what is did you pass, which will say 4. And it will say, congratulations, you qualify for an internship. And for everything to work, let's see. And for everything to work, we need one thing. What I just ran, and it shows nothing. Why? It runs, but we did not ask the user to run this, to show this. How do we do that? We call the main function. Oh, is that? I'm not familiar with this. Let's try running it. we'll go with what we know, main, parentheses, that, and we'll run it once, and it will ask us an input. Let's go with, let's call the main twice. And one more time. Stop and run. And we're gonna go with 69. And it says you need to score at least, okay, it asks us to put an input, enter your average score, and then your score is, and then what you have entered. And for the third line, it will say you need to score at least 70 average to be considered. All right. So it just passed through if. Now it's going to go to else. No, it's not going to even go to else because it is not higher than 70. So right away, both if, else, or do not go through. Now let's say if it is higher than 70, let's say 99.99. If the professor is, or a teacher is like that, does not give no points, then we'll say, how many classes did you take? So that means it passed through our first argument. Now it's going to our second argument, else. Then the user is asking for, the code is asking for classes that the student has taken, which is, let's say, 4. And then it says, enter your average score, 99. How many classes did you take? 4. Says, how many classes did you pass? 4. And finally, congratulations, you qualify for an internship. Good job. So we did it. One more code. And I will see you guys tomorrow.